Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about Donald Trump. He has become a laughing stock of the world. Every other moment, he seems to be changing his mind. At times, he's frustrated that his allies will not help him basically rescue the Strait of Hormuz from the clutches of Iran. At times, he claims that all victory has been achieved and all his goals have been achieved. And then he's also frustrated that Iran has not yet surrendered. And of course, he is clearly reacting in not just emotionally, but also with panicky policies in response to the rising oil prices. And it is becoming increasingly apparent that the overriding concern seems to have been that America was not prepared for this war. And that gives more and more credence to what Marco Rubio said initially, that they were basically dragged into this war by Israel. And they just didn't want to be left out. If Israel had attacked Iran, Iran would have attacked American assets in the region. So they wanted to attack Israel first. So they were not going to attack Iran if Israel had not attacked Iran. So it has become very clear that America was not prepared. Either strategically or in terms of planning. And that is becoming clearer day by day. I remember running a simulation for my students about 2 years ago of such a scenario. And in that scenario, a group of students who were playing Iran, they did these things right away. They shut down the Strait of Hormuz, they attacked in that simulation, they attacked Qatar and United Arab Emirates. I mean, they did not think of attacking Jordan or even Saudi Arabia, but they did attack immediate neighbors in the Gulf. And it was very clear from many years that if Iran was attacked, Iran would attack the global oil economy as well as its neighbors and US partners and bases in the region. So any kid could have told him that who's taking international relations and has taken at least one class on the geopolitics of the Middle East. And so, but let me tell you, I will not be surprised if you have morons like Pete Hegseth running the Department of War, that they never thought of this, or Donald Trump, it never occurred to him that this would happen. They probably listened to Netanyahu, who says, between the two of us, we can bomb the hell out of Iran in the first 36 hours, 40 hours, and that will be the end of it. They will surrender, the public will rise, and we'll go and install a king who will be more loyal to Israel than the Iranians. So that was their dream, and it apparently seems to be failing. So the latest and the most interesting thing is that Donald Trump is panicking because of the increase in prices of oil. Brent oil is now $106. It had gone up to 119 a few hours ago. So what has happened is oil has nearly doubled in price, and it is hurting everybody. Here in the United States, here in Delaware, it was 2.93 just 3 weeks ago. Before the war started, it was $2.93 per gallon, and now it is $3.90. So basically 30 to 40%, 33 to 40% increase in the price of gas. And if, as I've been telling you repeatedly, if the price of oil goes up, it has an inflationary effect on the economy. If the price of gas and petroleum goes up, the price of eggs and milk and food and everything goes up. And so basically America, who is suffering from an affordability crisis, where most Americans, even middle-class Americans, are finding it difficult to make ends meet. The salaries have not risen at the pace at which the cost of housing, cost of healthcare, cost of groceries, cost of petrol and gas, all of these things that have gone up in this country. And this is a crisis all over the world. You are seeing in India, the LPG crisis. Businesses that rely on cooking gas are shutting down, restaurants, etc. One of the biggest, India's growth has been tremendous, but manufacturing has been very poor. India's GDP's share of manufacturing is about 15%, which is really very bad. So where has the growth been? It has been mostly in services, and one of the biggest elements of the services is restaurants and hotels, and that is where the cooking gas shortage is going to destroy a lot of service businesses. Lots of jobs will be lost, and similarly, you can see it across the board. Schools have been shut down in many other countries in South Asia, and prices are just going through the roof. So Donald Trump, panicking that he has probably triggered a global economic recession, announced announced that they're lifting sanctions. So first, Donald Trump did two big things. One, he got together with the International Energy Agency and brought in the countries of the G7 and said, let's release all our strategic reserves, or at least 400 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserves of G7 countries into the market. And in that sense, the US actually provided 40% of that, which is about, in fact, more than 40%, 44% or 43%, 172 million barrels of oil were removed from the US strategic reserve and put on the market to reduce the cost of oil. And then what Donald Trump did was basically asked India and told them, go ahead and buy Russian oil, especially the ones which is already on the ocean, not the one which is still in, I guess, in the refineries or elsewhere. So those which are on the seas, which means they are already on boats and in tankers, India could go back and buy Russian oil. After struggling with India, imposing 25% tariffs on India's exports and trying to bully India to stop buying Russian oil, Donald Trump now turns around and begs India to buy Russian oil. I mean, that is a strategic step back, a strategic blow because of this war in Iran. And then today, he announces and lists sanctions on Iran itself. These sanctions were imposed on Iran in 1996. So he now says that Iranian oil is a limited one for a short period of time. He says all the Iranian oil which is in the boats and ships can now be bought legally. So let me tell you how much it is and what its impact is going to be. It is absolutely hilarious and to me quite fascinating. So this is from the Washington Post. As the cost of oil continues to soar, the Treasury Department on Friday lifted sanctions on 140 million barrels of Iranian crude already loaded onto vessels. So Iran probably was smuggling these oil barrels and selling this at discounted prices. Now, because it's suddenly legal, Iran is going to resell. It's not going to give it to those who are buying it illegally. Probably China is going to give it in the open market to Japan, to South Korea, even if India wants it. India is very close. India can probably get all of them, 140 million barrels of it. And guess at $1.06 a barrel, you're looking at 14 to 15 billion dollars worth of oil sales, additional sales for China. So this is a huge, huge gift from Donald Trump to Iran. Here, take 14 to 15 billion dollars. Go sell this oil legally. That tells you how desperate he is. That the Iranians must be laughing. Not just the Iranians, but I think everybody who are familiar with what this really means in the energy sector recognize this is a recognition that Donald Trump is feeling pressure from the rise in prices. He's getting frustrated because he's not able to prevent the Iranian control on the Strait of Hormuz. That shows that his military power, in spite of all the power, and it's just not the US, it's US and Iran, Israel, both together are unable to break this strategic bottleneck. And you can see the frustration. Let me show you some of the frustration of Donald Trump. He has basically ruined his own legacy, I think, by pursuing this Israel first war. So first, he's absolutely frustrated that his allies will not support him. This is what I'm just going to show you some of his Truth Social posts today. And let's laugh at this foolish man. He says, without the US, NATO is a paper tiger. They didn't want to join the fight to stop a nuclear powered Iran. There is no nuclear powered Iran. Didn't you obliterate their nuclear capabilities just 9 months ago? Were you lying to us then? Now that fight is militarily won, with very little danger for them, they complain about the high oil prices they are forced to pay. So look, he's saying that again. If the fight has been won and Iran is defeated, then what is the problem? They are forced, but don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz. Well, you have defeated Iran, so why is the Strait of Hormuz closed? I mean, I know that the IQ levels and education levels of people who are members of the MAGA movement are very low. They're probably 2-digit IQ levels. They probably read at a third grade level. Probably don't read books either. They obviously don't consume news other than Fox News and Truth Social, perhaps. But even they should be able to read this and see the contradictions in this post. If you have won the battle, then why is the Strait of Hormuz still closed? A simple military maneuver that is a single reason for the high oil. All right, if it is so simple, why don't you go and remove it? So easy for them to do with so little risk. Cowards, and we will remember. So this whole thing, why is it easy for the Europeans and very difficult for Americans and Israelis? Does America not have ships that can demine the Hormuz? Like, what is it? The answer is very simple. He knows that if you go into the Strait of Hormuz with ships and try to escort ships, you will have more casualties and fatalities. More of your soldiers are going to die. And he doesn't want to take the risk. He wants his allies to take the risk. He wants Frenchmen and Germans and Britishers and Indians and Japanese and South Koreans to die. He actually did not invite Indians, so I take that back. But not Americans or Israelis. And I hope that the Europeans are smart enough to understand that. Let me share another tweet, Truth Social post. This is what he says 3 hours ago, okay? The United States has blown Iran off the map. And yet their lightweight analyst, David Sanger, says that I haven't met my own goals. Yes, I have, and weeks ahead of schedule. Like what? Like, tell us today by when you have scheduled to finish off Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. So we know that you are ahead of schedule when you're ahead of schedule. So he keeps saying that we have achieved our goals, then why are we still fighting? Why are you fighting? Yes, I have weeks ahead of schedule. Their leadership is gone. The Navy and Air Force are dead. They have absolutely no defense, and they want to make a deal. They told us point blank. Abbas Araghchi, the ambassador of Iran, the foreign minister of Iran, went on NBC and on Meet the Press, I think, and said very clearly that we tried negotiating with, we were close to finishing the deal, and Donald Trump and Israel attacked us twice. So they are saying, what's the point of negotiating with you? You are not an honest negotiator. So they are not asking for negotiation. This is another of his lies, that they are asking for a deal. We are weeks ahead of schedule, just like their incompetent election coverage of me. The failing New York Times always gets it wrong. No, the New York Times is getting it pretty right, Mr. Trump. You are getting it wrong. You said this would be over in 6 weeks. Let us see. And then I want to read this one also. Now, then today he made this big threat. It will be very interesting and sort of amusing to see if he follows through or he forgets and comes up with many more threats in the next 48 hours, and the whole news cycle makes us forget this. But I'm not going to forget it. So this is 10 o'clock. Today is 21st. On 23rd, I will revisit it in my nightly show. If Iran doesn't fully open without threat, I don't know what he means without threat, without threatening the ships going through the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time. So why has he given them 48 hours? So that the market, the oil remains up, and then his buddies can short sell oil in the hope that Iran will follow through, and then the price of oil will come back. Is that the reason why he's given? He says, do it now. Like, I don't understand the logic. The Iranians can just say, oh, we are so scared of Donald Trump. Let's just say, okay, ships, you can go. And says 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. We know what obliterate means. He obliterated the nuclear capabilities of Iran just 9 months ago. Now they are in nuclear power, according to his previous tweet. So obliterate means nothing. But anyway, yes, the US and the Israelis are quite capable of destroying power plants, which are just, I suppose, defenseless industrial installations. But I'm not very sure that this threat will also impede, because the Iranians know that once they let the Strait of Hormuz go, then Israel and the US can continue the war for as long as they want, with no pressure on them to end it. The prices of oil go down in the US, other countries will relax. Right now, everybody is pissed off with the United States, including the Arab neighbors, because of what Iran is doing. Yes, they are angry with Iran, but they also understand. If you look at the statements made by the foreign minister of Oman, read his article in The Economist. Sultan, I didn't ask for your commentary on the Oman minister's article. Anyway, so the point that he was making was that this was a rational response. He actually used the phrase rational response of Iran, what it did with the Strait of Hormuz, and also hitting the neighbors' oil refineries, because this is the only major strategic way in which Iran could defend itself. Everybody, I mean, for the last 5-6 months, we've been talking about this on our channels, etc., and nearly every analyst kept bringing it up, that Iran will shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Anyway, so he's threatening to destroy Iranian power plants. You know what's going to happen after that? Iran will then shoot missiles at some Kuwaiti or Qatari or Bahraini or Emirati power plant, and then they are going to scream at Donald Trump, and then he'll say, oh, no, I didn't do it. The Israelis did it. And first the Israelis said, no, the Americans did it. And then after Trump makes a phone call, then Netanyahu said, no, we did it. And I don't know what purpose that is going to serve, because we will be going through this cycle. I want to show you another of Donald Trump's rant today. Okay, so this is a long one, so I need to go and read this on a bigger, He says, we are getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military effort in the Middle East. So he's signaling today that perhaps the war could end. And I have a feeling that if in 48 hours, there will be heavy bombing in these next 48 hours by Israel and the US to destroy and kill as many leaders and destroy Iran's industrial capacity as possible. In the process, they've already injured about 20,000 plus Iranians, and over 2,000 are already dead. Not to mention all the environmental damage that they have caused to the city of Tehran. But I think what is going to happen is he's already preparing for an off-ramp from this war. And if Iran continues to hold on to the Strait of Hormuz 48 hours from now, he probably say, we won, and leave. I did a whole article, and you guys should see that article of mine on the Middle East Policy Council. In fact, I did a show with that name just yesterday, where I talked about the 4 possible scenarios of how this war could end. And that is one of the scenarios where Donald Trump just declares victory and walks away from the situation as it is, leaving Iran in control of the Strait of Hormuz and the Iranian regime in power. Anyway, so he claims that we have completely degraded Iranian missile capacity. I mean, I really find this so bizarre. We know the missiles are landing even as you speak. And Why would you lie? I just don't understand. Like, who is stupid enough to say, not tell him? I think, why can't his aides tell him, don't say such stupid shit, Mr. President, because you say that we have finished the missile capacity and then tomorrow they shoot some more. They've completely degraded Iranian missiles, which means they shouldn't be able to shoot anymore. Launchers and everything else pertaining to them, destroying Iran's defense industrial base, eliminating the Navy and Air Force, including anti-aircraft weaponry. Yeah, look at this bullshit. He's saying that we are eliminating the Navy and Air Force, including anti-aircraft weaponry, and just today the Iranians hit an F-35 and damaged it and was forced to land. The pilot survived, thank God for him. But the Iranians hit an F-35 for the first time after 20 days. So what did they hit it with? They took a rubber band and hit the F-35, the stealth, because all the anti-aircraft capacity has been destroyed. I'm telling you, his supporters, if they read this stuff and still continue to support him, their IQ must be in the negative. Forget about 2 digits, it's probably in the negative. Anyway, so he's basically making all these threats. He says the United States does not. If asked, so he's basically preparing this. See, I think they had a brainstorming session, and he said, Mr. President, we have to prepare the public to our walking away from this war without ending Iran's control on the Strait of Hormuz. And this is what Trump comes up with. I'm sure he wrote this himself. The Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. The United States does not. So we don't use it, so we're not going to do anything about the Strait of Hormuz. We can't do anything. We've been trying. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Well, you just said that you have eradicated that threat. So why does anybody need to go and police the Strait of Hormuz? So Donald Trump is just going in circles and circles and circles. This is the official comment from Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury. He says, today the Department of Treasury is issuing a narrowly tailored short-term authorization permitting the sale of Iranian oil currently stranded at sea. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wrote Friday night on X. By temporarily unlocking this existing supply for the world, the United States will quickly bring approximately 140 million barrels of oil to global markets, expanding the amount of worldwide energy and helping to relieve the temporary pressures on supply caused by Iran. So we'll see on Monday morning what happens when the markets open, whether the price of oil probably will go down a bit because of the availability of 140 million barrels. That's probably about roughly a week's worth of supply for the Asian countries, or that is the amount of oil that would go through in 1 week through the Strait of Hormuz. About 20 million barrels go through it every day. So 140 would be 7 days worth of oil. So this is interesting, isn't it? Anyway, so I want to make a couple more comments, and then I will take your comments, read your comments, and answer your questions if there are any interesting ones. So Donald Trump has up till now spent close to $22 billion on this war. And the Department of War has now requested another $200 billion from the Congress. That's a hell of a lot of money. That is close. You could say that the US, if you add those 200 to this 22, the US is spending on this war is equal to the entire Chinese defense budget for a year. China spends about $240 billion a year on its defense. Trump wants to spend $200 billion. I can assure you that 2030 will be just to give it to Israel again, in terms of weapons, reconstruction, whatever crap. But why does he need 200 billion? And he's moving more and more troops into the region. So there's one theory that there's a particular island called the Karg, where 90% of Iran's oil is exported, and Trump wants to actually annex that particular island. He wants to occupy it. So he will need ground troops, and he's preparing for that. So that will be a major, at least they think it will be a major strategic victory for the United States, and they will be able to completely cut off Iran's capacity of exporting oil, because 90% of the exports happen from there, and they will kind of have Iran's infrastructure by literally by the throat. The other alternative, it seems that they are thinking of some kind of a ground invasion. Like I said, Iran is a massive country, half the size of India, 4 times the size of Iraq, with a 92 million population. And with each passing day, they're hating Israel and America more and more and more. Nobody wants their country to be destroyed. There are some idiots here in the United States who are very happy that Israel and America are bombing their country, and they're dying to have an Israeli puppet as their king. But these are also jokers who are never going to go back to Iran, even if they get their wish. So they are irrelevant to Iran, but I'm sure the Iranians are very proud people. They're not going to take this bullshit. They will fight back. If the US sends troops on the ground, then it will be Iraq all over again. This is one of the scenarios that I have discussed in my article. We can read it on the Middle East Policy Council's website. I will share the link with you here right away. So why does this is a very peculiar? Why does Trump want another, shall we say, $200 billion? That is just perplexing. I think it's because they want to replenish what they have already lost. So this is the website, mepc.org, Middle East Policy Council. This is my article. It's right up there on the front page. Gaming the End Game, Possible Scenarios in the Iran War. And you can read the article. So my first scenario was war without troops on the ground, as it is going on now. Second scenario is ground invasion and occupation, and that is going to be an utter disaster. US will have to take many fatalities and casualties in this, and with each casualty, the popularity of the war will decline in the US, and the Republican Party's chances of winning anything in November will decline rapidly if this becomes another never-ending ground war in a Middle Eastern country. The third one option is if the Middle Eastern countries themselves are foolish enough to join this war, like Saudi Arabia and Qatar and others start attacking Iran with Israel. I think that they will suffer. They will be the biggest sufferer. They are already, I think, the biggest losers in this war. And the final one is the best option, where Donald Trump decides tomorrow that, oh, we have achieved everything. See, he's already claiming that he has achieved everything. Great, congratulations. Now come back home. And he ends this war. And from his long tweet, it is apparent that he's willing to walk away from this war without taking the Strait of Hormuz away from Iranian control. Anyway, that is where our Mr. Donald Trump is with his brilliance. This needs to be repeated, that most people who think of America first believe that this war is not at all in the interest of America. His own administration's intelligence officers have told us that there was no imminent threat to the United States, so there was no need to start this war. Anyway, let us see if there are any interesting questions or comments from people in the house. I see a lot of members here. Oh, very nice. Upen Tumba from Nepal, from the land of Mount Everest, Kathmandu, and such beautiful things. And Sita, the wife of Ram, was from Nepal. Rajesh Mishra says, thanks, Khan Saab. If Iran made a blunder by attacking Diego Garcia, major international powers are alienating from US, etc., would this move of Iran unite them? Not really. There are some smart people saying that, look, we told you that Iran has ballistic missile capabilities which can threaten the US and Europe, etc. That's what they are trying to say. I think the Iranians did that to tell the Brits not to join the war, because of all the European countries, The country that is the most warmongering when it comes to being with the US is UK. It was a country that went into with the US to Afghanistan, went into US with Iraq, if you remember Tony Blair, when he was a warmonger himself. So I think this was Iran's way of thinking that they are threatening UK for joining this war. Uh, Nadia, what do you think of Trump's 48 hours? I think I answered your question, Nadia. Yeah, it's quite possible he's going to forget about it in 48 minutes and he'll be saying something else. I hope the reporters, he loves to talk to the reporters, right? I hope reporters keep asking, well, 48 hours over. But it's also possible that they might just bomb tomorrow. They will not wait for the 48 hours, and Israelis and Americans could bomb major Iranian power plants and put the country in darkness. Well, there's a difference between offensive war and defensive war, right? Iran is not invading. Look, nothing is happening here in America to us. Not a single bullet landed on us here. We have gone all the way there to fight them. So it's not going to hurt us. It can hurt our bases and our friends over there. So Iran is able to defend itself and perform above its capacities because they are being attacked. Usually, in the old fashioned military tactics, you would say that the invading army needed to be 3 times bigger than the defending armies usually. So, but if Iran becomes the offensive, if China becomes the offensive force with regards to Taiwan, then your analogy doesn't work. Your question that you should have asked, will Taiwan be able to do this to China? And it will give China a big headache with the help of the US and Japan and other allies in the region. Uh, Nadia and Rajesh are both members of Conversations, and so is Sunny Singh ji. Trump mocking Japanese Prime Minister. Oh, that was terrible, talking about the. I mean, this is your ally, especially this right wing female Prime Minister, first woman Prime Minister of Japan, Sane Takashi. She is like a female Trump in Japan. And your closest ally in Asia, why would you say something so stupid? He thought he was being clever. He's constantly like, he's confused whether he's a president or a stand up comedian. Iran didn't hit it, it fired at it. That is so true. It is disgusting, isn't it, as to how morally horrible American leadership is. Not just American, most of the Western leaders who are involved in it. I mean, the British royalty, there were some, even Europeans, but at least the Europeans got rid of their leaders. Nobody, can you imagine, thousands, they say that over 1,000 girls have been molested, abused, even raped. And not one person in the United States has been arrested in this Epstein case. It's just absolutely disgusting. The cover up. you know, in the olden days, like for example, sometimes like this laptop of mine has only 500, half a terabyte. So sometimes when I forget to delete files, and then I'm downloading a major big file or something, it kind of gets confused and it's overpowered. The computer gets like fuzzy and things don't stop. So Pete Hegseth is like this, as if he's reaching his limit of his brain power, and then he's so overwhelmed by the number of facts out there and issues and factors. So you can see his brain just clogging up. He's so stupid. I am so sorry to say. You know, the man was not even. He was in the army. He never was a very senior officer or anything. Anyway, yes, Sultan is king. Sultan is my dog who was barking. I don't know why. All right. Any other interesting questions? No. So I'll be coming back in about 45 minutes to do a show in Hindi about a movie that has been banned in India. There's a lot of noise in India about movie right now. They're talking about Dhurandhar 2, which has been banned internationally. But no, I'm talking about a movie which was nominated for the Oscars, and it has been banned in India because India doesn't want to upset Israel. We'll talk about it. The Voice of Hindu Rajab. I will talk about that movie so that Indians who can't see their movie because they live in the mother of democracy. Modi has become such a coward when it comes to America and the US. It's Israel. It's unbelievable. He has banned, his government has banned a movie from showing up because he's afraid that it will turn public opinion against Israel. So he wants his public to remain stupid and ignorant and be misled. He doesn't want the Indian people to know the reality of what Israel is doing in Gaza. I'll talk about that movie in Hindi and in 45 minutes. So take care until then. Thank you for watching Conversations. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and press the bell icon. So until next time, I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan. Take care. Bye.